When the Israeli military ordered the evacuation of his Khan Yunis neighborhood last year, Mohammed Shabir says he and his family chose instead to stay put. We had no shelter to go to, he told our NBC News crew in Gaza. Then, on March 2nd, he says the IDF moved in, killing his father and sister and arresting him, 17 at the time, without giving him a reason. The next day, Shabir says Israeli soldiers used him as a human shield, forcing him to go from one apartment to another, looking for explosives, weapons, and Hamas fighters. When I entered, there were wires on the walls, he says. I immediately realized that this apartment was booby-trapped, so I came out and told them. He says the IDF took him aside, blew up the apartment, and told him to keep going, or else they'd kill his mother and younger siblings. 20-year-old Mohammed Saad says the same orders were given to him, only he says he was forced to wear the IDF uniform and strap a camera to his head. Every time they see a wire, they say to us, "Cut it," he told NBC. They were monitoring us, drones flying above us. Tanks were outside, snipers, all of them watching. If you made the wrong move, they would kill you. After the last mission, he says he was shot through the back by Israeli soldiers and taken to an Israeli hospital. Israel, the United States, and other Western allies have long accused Hamas of hiding behind civilians and civilian infrastructure such as hospitals. The IDF has released videos and given media access to extensive tunnel networks, including those used to hold civilian hostages. NBC News hasn't been able to independently confirm how or when other tunnels were used and if they were being shielded by hospitals or schools. But over the course of this conflict, emerging allegations that Israeli soldiers themselves are also using people as human shields. Eyewitness accounts are rare, if any at all. Prior to searching an area, the Israeli military clears it of civilians. And while they're held by Israeli soldiers, the detainees are often blindfolded, not only to restrict their ability to move around, but so they're unable to see each other, the soldiers, and their weapons. NBC News hasn't been able to independently verify the allegations made by both Shabir and Saad, but their accounts are consistent with the testimonies of other Palestinian men we've spoken to, as well as reports by other news organizations. In a statement to NBC News, the IDF stated that the use of Gazan civilians as human shields or coercing them in any other way to participate in military operations is strictly prohibited under IDF regulations. The IDF also says it's unaware of the incident involving Mohammed Shabir, but is aware of Mohammed Saad's claims and told NBC News back in August the case was being examined by the relevant authorities. 4 months later, the IDF says the investigation is still ongoing. But they're not alone. In these videos obtained exclusively by Al Jazeera, you can see here a man who appears to be a detainee, stripped down to his underwear, leading soldiers through rubble. And another appears to have his blindfold removed, then, alone amid the ruins, a drone watching his every move. The IDF has not commented on these videos. It all comes as no surprise to Nadav Vyman.
Right, it's not a secret that the IDF can keep in Gaza. Right?
Vyman joined the IDF in the early 2000s as a sniper. Today, he runs an organization made up of former IDF soldiers who work to end the Israeli occupation. During his time in the military, Vyman says he was ordered to arrest Palestinian militants using what was then known as the neighbor procedure.
You come in the middle of the night, you take the neighbor, and you tell the neighbor, you knock on the door. You call him out. And if he's not answering, so you will open the door. Now, a lot of the times, that neighbor will get shot. And we were told as soldiers that it's better that he will get shot than us.
The Supreme Court of Israel later banned the practice in 2005, saying the procedure contradicts international law and that the civilian population is not to be used for the military needs of the occupying army. Fast forward to October 2023. Within weeks of the Israeli ground invasion in Gaza, Feynman says some Israeli soldiers reported to the organization what they were being ordered to do in the battlefield. And they came with what they claimed was photographic evidence. Feynman won't say just how many soldiers have turned to them, only that there are many.
They were ordered to use Palestinians as human shields. If you have soldiers from different units, different times of this year of fighting, and different areas in the Gaza Strip, northern Gaza Strip, center, south, saying the exact same thing and using the same phrasing, so obviously it's a widely used protocol by the IDF.
And when you say same phrasing, what exactly do you mean?
Cannot say.
For security reasons, Israeli military censorship laws won't allow him to answer that question publicly. That phrasing is known as the mosquito procedure, and the mosquito, or yatush in Hebrew, refers to the Palestinian being detained.
We heard from one of the soldiers that they asked their commanders, hey, what's going on over here? Why do I need to push a human being at gunpoint into a tunnel? And their officer told them that too many dogs in the IDF dog unit died.
So the Palestinian men are replacing animals, essentially.
Yeah, that's one of the soldiers said that. In other units, they were told, listen, do you want to be blown up for my ID or a Palestinian? And in other units, the officer told them, let me take care of war crimes, right? And you will execute commands.
Human rights groups say the use of Palestinian civilians as human shields is nothing new, nor is it restricted to war-torn Gaza. We traveled 80 miles northeast of Gaza to the city of Jenin in the occupied West Bank. The man we're about to meet survived what the U.S. State Department described as shocking and unacceptable. Back in June, this video made headlines around the world. It shows Mujahid Abadi, a civilian who'd been shot in the arm and leg by IDF soldiers, strapped to the front of an Israeli jeep during a military raid. When we met Abadi 2 months later, he was confined to his bed, barely able to walk. No one was shooting at them, he told us, because they were using me as a human shield. The IDF called him a suspect in a counter-terrorism operation, but was later released. Doctors have told Abadi he'll likely never walk properly again. The IDF says the investigation it launched over the summer is still ongoing. A U.S. State Department spokesperson tells NBC News the reports of civilians being used as human shields are extremely disturbing, and such practices, if true, are completely unacceptable, adding that Israel has a responsibility to investigate credible allegations of violations whenever they arise. Also saying in October,
there can be no justification ever for the use of civilians as human shields.
International law is clear. Even if one warring side uses civilians to shield itself, the other side is still required to protect those civilians from disproportionate harm. The Gaza Health Ministry says to date, more than 46,000 people in Gaza have been killed. For now, the focus is seeing the ceasefire through and implementing the terms of a very complex deal. But as Gaza opens up to the outside world for the first time since the war began, among the things investigators will be scrutinizing is the conduct of Israeli soldiers. Whether there'll be accountability remains to be seen. Hallie.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.